Hello and welcome to the first installment of the Anime Watch Club, where a few friends tackle their massive anime backlogs. Goal of this series is to end our procrastination and to branch out from our typical taste. So whether you're a slut for shonen or a root for rom-coms, we should have something for you. If you want to join in ours or start your own, the rules are simple. Try to look for one-season shows, you get 1 week per 12 episodes, and you meet every week to discuss what you've watched. I'm joined today by my two co-hosts and longtime friends, the sassy Sean Big Mac McLean and Doug the Gentleman England. They did not agree to these nicknames, but now they're stuck with it. Call me the captain, and I'll be keeping the ship on course to discuss this evening. Gentlemen.
Yo, what's up, dude?
Good, man.
Good. So I'm joined today with my two longtime friends, Sean and Doug. High energy as ever. Turning it up a notch.
Howdy.
What's up, dudes?
So they didn't really get my spiel of the little thing here, but so to introduce it, it's the Anime Watch Club. What we do is we treat it like a book club. And so we pick a show each week to watch. And so this week we watched Banana Fish, which is a 24-episode series, so we gave ourselves 2 weeks. So we just finished the first half.
Yeah, I kind of binged it the first 3 days and finished it, but I had to stop myself from watching the last half of it for sure.
Yeah, see, my thing, I didn't know we were slowing down, so really, like I said, I have a lot of shows that I want to watch, so I think I'm up to 20 right now.
I honestly slowed it down because of Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm notoriously slow at doing anything, really, but I've been pretty encapsulated by this show.
I feel like a lot of this was created from Doug's inability to finish shows.
Yeah, it's like
he's kind of our muse in a way.
My flame, my muse.
They're
Yes,
trying to keep me on track to.
you need to watch anime every day.
I'm sorry, man.
Vagisil can be
I got other
used.
stuff going on.
Vagisil can be used every day.
Every day, Penny. Every day.
Yeah. Well, so far I've been keeping up pretty good.
It's good.
So.
It's good. Yeah, it is. It is definitely good. So, like I said, we started with it's Banana Fish. So, part of the whole process was that we all decided on a show. So, whoever got the first dice roll was the one that won, and then we moved on from that. And Sean was the first one who won.
Actually, dude, I believe we all picked 3 at first, and then you remember I was talking about I was going to start Banana Fish, and then we kind of just all decided to do this one first because we were all interested.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because we were going to do Goblin Slayer because you were watching it, but you were already almost done with it.
Yeah. So the next, after we're done with Banana Fish, we have our 3 picked out that we're going to do already.
Yeah.
But you'll find out at a later date.
Yeah, so fucking deal with it.
Go ahead and wait, bitch.
Yeah, so we all decided on Banana Fish because it's a show that I've seen pretty high rated that I've always wanted to watch, and I've kind of just put it off because I don't know, I never really when you read the synopsis, you kind of don't get that idea that you want to watch it right this second.
No, definitely not compared to what it actually is as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not out looking for animes called Banana Fish.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the problem too.
I honestly think that's what captivated me a little bit to want to start it. I'm just like, who the fuck calls something Banana Fish?
Yeah, I mean,
and then it's actually really highly rated, and people were recommending it. So I was like, fuck it.
Yeah, and a lot of my rating too is like I said, I don't have. These are pretty much the main people that watch anime that I know. So trying to figure out certain series that goes different and on their taste is a little hard to find sometimes. So I usually just use my anime list to find the ratings.
Yeah, for sure.
Like so yeah, to give you a little, I'll just read the synopsis, I guess, from my anime list. So it's basically says Ash Lynx was a runaway he picked off the streets of New York City and raised by the infamous godfather of the mafia. Now 17-year-old and the boss of his own gang, Ash begins investigating the mysterious Banana Fish, the same 2 words his older brother Griffin has muttered since he returned from the Iraq War. However, his inquiries are hindered when Dino sends his men after Ash at an underground bar he uses as his hideout. Which I would say is probably the most fucking basic synopsis ever.
Yeah, considering there's so much more that goes into literally every single detail about that.
Yeah, and backstory and everything like that.
None of that makes me think Banana Fish.
Yeah, it's you're well... It'll guess. What's funny is too, I'm like, well, what the fuck's Banana Fish? And I was like, is it a drug? And then I was right.
Yeah. And then also in the series though, it's from a book. I forgot the author. But
From a book or a manga?
No, like it's from an actual book, like the term banana fish. Like an author used it.
Yeah, you're oh my god. It's
I forgot the author though, but apparently it's some quote like if you see a banana fish at sea, then like
Salinger?
you're gonna die pretty much.
It's from Catcher in the Rye.
It is Salinger.
Salinger.
It is
Yeah,
Salinger.
JD Salinger. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's not from Catcher in the Rye, but it's from JD Salinger.
Yeah, and they even explain that in the anime because when Ash is like, "What the fuck is banana fish?"
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who explained it to him at first. What the quote was from.
I forget like the guy's name that it was, but yeah. So he gets that explained to him like along the way. He was like, it's just basically it starts out like it shows. What is it?
Wasn't it Max?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Max.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he's in the cell. So yeah, so basically it starts out, like it shows the flashback of his brother, and later you find out that it's Max, that he's in there, that they're in Iraq together, and so Ash's brother ends up shooting up like his squad.
Yeah. That was the opening scene, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's like the main scene that starts it, and then so you kind of get clues along the way.
Yeah, so that kind of foreshadowed, Max coming in there, but. Mm-hmm. And then, as well, the first episode, you meet Shorter pretty much right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Ash and Shorter meet up.
Yeah, so Ash is the leader of his gang, and then Shorter is like his friend, who is part of, I guess you'd say like the Chinese mafia almost.
Yeah. And then, after that, he go ahead, Doug.
I was gonna say, and then there's a little Skip who's like, he like looks after his like safe house or whatever, kind of keeps track on things, kind of like, and he's only like what, like 7, 8.
Yeah, he's like really young.
He's like his runner essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
so what, he meets up with Shorter at first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes to Dino's house. That's when you're introduced to Dino.
Yeah, who is the mafia boss.
And it's so funny that it introduces it that way because you don't know, like, again, I feel like that's a common occurrence with banana fish. Like, you're introduced to people and you don't know actually what the fuck their like actual relationship is at all.
Yeah, and especially they'll hint like very like lightly about things.
It's very face level at first.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll break down that way to where you'll get these introductions. They'll give you like a little bit of backstory. It's almost like they tease you each time.
Yeah,
and then so like each episode as it goes on, you get introduced to different things like as they move along. So I would say it kind of ramps up really quick.
Yeah, that's one thing that me and you did discuss, Tyler, was how like fast paced it actually is, but at the same time, like considering how fast paced it is, I don't feel like it's missing a whole lot. I feel like it covers all the bases pretty well within like the third episode.
Yeah, to me it's almost like it ramps up that thing to kind of like almost bait you in to watching.
Oh, for sure.
Because they at that point they haven't even gone to the whole conspiracy level of like banana fish and what it is, which essentially it's like a hallucinogenic drug that they're testing on people.
They explained it's essentially LSD.
Yeah.
But we'll get more into it as we get into the later episodes. I believe it
chemical that creates something, a little extra to it. Yeah.
It's that hardcore shit your mom always warned you about, but you can never get your hands on.
Yeah, it's what happens when you smoke weed, but then that's your gateway, and then you end up taking banana fish.
That's what happens when you boof.
Yeah.
But they do cover like the ramp up pretty well. Like they show Ash in front of the gangs and just his sure shot, just
yeah.
Kind
of like developing his character of like how he is as like, so like he's 17 and they're trying to establish like he's this big time gang boss, and that he was basically nurtured from a kid into that by Dino.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it goes, because like he throughout the series they start hinting at it that Ash was a prostitute because he was also molested when he was a kid, and he actually killed the guy that molested him and raped him.
Yeah.
And so it goes to like that's kind of his like tragic start to his life. Like basically his entire life has been traumatic.
Kind of leads up to why he's so ruthless at being
and of
17.
course, Yeah, and of course he used that to like get in with the mafia boss. He kind of became like his own personal little love slave to kind of, get that prestige to, get up there in the ranks.
Yeah, and they make it very obvious that the reason he does all these things and the reason he's done this for his entire life is he's trying to survive through everything. And, like, he'll do anything to survive.
Yeah, and not only is it like just surviving, but Ash knows damn well how to literally use everybody around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, even though he was Dino's, the mafia boss's, like, male prostitute at one point, he, got turned into that. He used the shit out of him. He got his street cred.
Yeah.
He stole whatever he wanted. You learn later on that he obtained all this valuable information from, just being there all the time and around them.
Yeah, learning through that. Like, he's taken the time to, like, learn through books and everything like that. And that.
Yeah.
So essentially, what they show later too is that Dino was essentially grooming him to become the next mafia boss.
Yeah, and then that's kind of why they call him Ash Lynx. Though Lynx obviously is not his last name. They call him the Lynx because he is, the wild animal.
He's like untamable.
Can't be caged.
Yeah.
And they refer to that a lot, I'd say, actually, like throughout every fucking episode. They refer to that at least twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like the part where they talk about the leopard on Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. It's like the frozen leopard on Kilimanjaro. And I found out that that's actually a true story.
Really?
Yeah, and so I guess they were talking about that, and then so I went and looked it up because I was like, that sounds that it's not made up. So I went and looked it up, and then I guess Hemingway actually has a picture of that frozen leopard on Kilimanjaro because I guess they used to like forage up there for food.
Yeah, they do a lot of book referencing. I feel like.
So I think that's interesting because and it really ties into Ash as he is as a person because I think at one point don't they measure his IQ and it's like over 200.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very smart, very animalistic, ruthless. But obviously, as it goes on, you kind of find out he's just.
But one thing also to note about him is, and of course the story progression kind of changes it a little bit, but he's not one for murder. Like he has all this power, but he, in the beginning, doesn't have the thought of I need to kill people to have this power.
Yeah, it's almost as he gets pushed to it.
He says that in the first episode, though, because that's why he went to see Dino, because the dude, in the introduction scene of him after it showed his brother in the war shooting up his squad, it showed Ash in the alley, and that dead guy walks, or not the guy, he was dying. He walked around the corner in the alley and just falls dead on his face in front of Ash, and the only two words he said to him was banana fish.
Yeah, and then gave him the vial.
And gave him that vial and the address.
Yeah.
And then Ash goes to see Dino, and then he was like, I thought I told you no killing people. Like, no more dead men. That was the whole reason he went to go see Dino originally.
Yeah. And it kind of, it's like kind of what snaps it for him. It's like, I'm not going to get out from under this without killing people.
Yeah.
And like his whole thing is trying to kill, he's like, he just wants to kill Dino. That's like his whole goal.
Yeah. And then, from there, the Eggy comes in the first episode, right?
Yeah, so they introduce because they're both journalists, right?
Yeah, they come into report about gangs in America.
Yeah, and I want to say, Tiz, did they say that Ash invited them, or was it?
No, Ash did not invite them because remember in the first episode
how they got in.
It was Dino. I'm almost positive it was Dino. I can't remember exactly, but I remember them telling Ash about it. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, oh, we want pictures or whatever. And he's just like, whatever, fine.
Yeah, because it's like,
part of
that, I think that part's still kind of like, it's probably in the future episodes more.
It's not explained yet, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of really vague, like why they're there. And then you can also see kind of like they're working with the cops as well.
Yeah.
In a way, but they also don't they don't explain why it got to that point to where they're almost like buddy-buddy.
Yeah, they're definitely working with the cops. They don't say that, but they clearly are. And then once Eggy is he's 19, right?
Yeah, he's 19.
He's a 19-year-old assistant of a photographer from Japan. Mm-hmm. And what's the photographer's name?
It's
like eBay. Yeah, IBE. Yeah, eBay-san.
Iba. Yeah. So he's the photographer for the Journal from Japan. They're coming over to America, working with the cops to They're saying they're journalists and they want pictures of American gangs and shit. So they get introduced to Ash and his crew. They have an inn, and Ash had gotten the vial of what we later find out is banana fish, and his underground bar hideout gets fucking stormed.
Yeah.
While Eggy and eBay are there. So after that, I feel like it just goes full send.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're fucking getting shot up. Everybody's trying to run out of there. And Skip takes them out, and they try to escape. Only Eggy could escape. And then, unfortunately, little Skip gets fucking blasted.
Or fucking Eggy does that pole vault over the wall. And he's like, that's where you kind of... So it's definitely... I'll say the one thing about this series is it definitely has, like, homosexual undertones.
Yeah.
Kind of and you see that kind of in that second episode to where he's like, and he flew that day, and he's like kind of getting a hard-on for it.
Yeah, no, he was definitely starstruck. You can see the...
Something to note also, like, especially in that bar scene,
Mm-hmm.
when Edgy is, like, first meeting Ash.
Oh, yeah.
He notices the gun,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, can I hold it?
Yeah.
And then he lets him and does the whole thing, and then
else?
you find out afterwards, like, whoa, Ash never lets anyone touch his gun.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you that foreshadow that Ash kind of has something drawn to eat Edgy.
Yeah, that he's, like, special to him, like, at the first meeting.
And after Eggy escapes, that's the end of the episode, pretty much, right? Skip dies, Eggy escapes, and then after that, it's just fucking like balls to the wall. That's what really draws you in.
Yeah,
Skip doesn't die right away. I think that's when they kidnap Skip and Edgy, and then they take him to that warehouse.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's with Marvin.
Ash takes Shorter's bike because Shorter was heading towards
to help him out.
You're right.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that's the end.
Oh, we didn't talk about Arthur at all. I just realized that.
Yeah. Well, so, yeah. I mean, he's more of like, kind of like, I guess like almost like a sub boss. Almost because he works for Dino, but he's like
just out to take. But he was in the same gang as
that's what I'm saying. Like he pretty much like in the Ash's gang, like Ash is the boss, even though like Dino is kind of like an overseer to it.
Right.
So kind of like that, you know, they don't like answer to Dino, they answer to Ash, and then Arthur is like against Ash, so he like splits off from his gang.
Yeah, because Arthur pretty much goes in straight to Dino and is like, yo, after Ash pulls all that shit, Arthur's like, yo, let me help you out. I'll be essentially your underling from now on. I'll help you get revenge on Ash.
Yeah. And then so pretty much it goes on later too that it's important because you don't really see why like Arthur hates Ash. And they make it seem like it's not part of that. So, you know, they get into like a knife fight at the beginning, and then Ash wins, and then he pretty much fucking goes all pussy mode on him, and then tries to draw a gun at him, and then Ash blows his fingers off.
Yeah, because they hinted that a lot as well. You see the scars on Arthur's fingers, how they got reconnected and shit, and he even says it.
Yeah.
When he's talking to Dino, he's like, Ash owes me my fingers or some shit.
Yeah, and they have that little bonding moment because like he's like, my shoulder still aches, like I'm sure your fingers do.
Yeah, fucking pussies.
It's like reminding of like basically the betrayal of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so, you know, then that goes, they get kidnapped by Arthur, and like that's like the whole thing is like they're trying to bait Ash out for Dino.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they're doing it. They're basically capturing anyone who's close to Ash. And the first one is Skip, and then Skip ends up dead. And then he like escape, and then he chases Marvin to that apartment.
Yep. And then Marvin is one of Dino's bodyguards. He's in the mafia.
Yeah.
And so Ash is chasing after Marvin. Marvin goes in the apartment complex, and Ash doesn't even get to kill Marvin. He's fucking shot dead.
Yeah, they like essentially set him up for the murder of Marvin.
Yeah, so the cops from the other district shoot Marvin, and they're like, oh, look, Ash is here also. He fucking murdered him, and they lock Ash up after that, trying to set him up for Marvin's murder.
Yeah.
And that's when Ash goes to jail and meets Max.
Yeah.
And Max becomes a very, very important character.
Yeah, and so you find out that he's actually a journalist who was in the same platoon with Griffin, which is Ash's brother, who's under the influence of banana fish.
Yeah, and they're cellmates, right?
Yeah, there's because they set him up to protect Ash because they knew that if he went to prison, he would get killed. So Max was working with the cops.
He knew Iba.
Yeah, and that's kind of how they like knew each other, was like through all that connection.
So the whole time they're in prison, and Max is trying to protect Ash. Ash is always getting into fights and standing up for himself and fighting people and shit like that. And then I believe they first talked about Banana Fish. Whenever Ash he got the shit beat out of him by those three guys. He was in the jail medic area, right?
Yeah, so basically the way that it is like he allowed him to like rape him, because that's kind of what is implied, which you would assume that happens in prison.
Yeah.
And then later on it shows that the only reason he did that was that he was trying to get into the medical ward so he could get a pill capsule so he could give a message to Edgy.
Yeah, and but while he was in the medical ward, Max was there as well. And I don't remember why, or I think he was just thinking out loud, right? He just said Banana Fish.
Yeah, I think he was, I forget what it was. It was like he was talking about something like that.
But Max was there the whole time, and then Max just fucking wigs out, and Max is like, what the fuck do you know about Banana Fish? What did you just say?
Yeah, because he was Ash is like sitting in bed, and he was like, he's like, Banana Fish, and he was like, what did you just say?
Yeah, and Max freaks the fuck out. So that's when Ash was like, oh, it's just from a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they kind of talk more and find out the two of them are actually out to find out what Banana Fish is. They both have the same end goal. And then Ash finds out that Max was in the same platoon as his brother.
Yeah, and then like Ash knew all about Max through his letters that his brother used to send him. And he was like, basically, he hates Max for that whole reason, because he's like you basically paralyzed him because he was like stuck in a chair.
Yeah, they shot him.
Yeah, that's how they kind of asked, and then later then you find out that he's not actually paralyzed.
Yeah, he's just in that coma.
Yeah,
that
mentally
they put him in that endless nightmare, I think is how they described it.
Yeah, he's just mentally fucking shot. So they become, they start off with a bitter relationship because of that, but then they end up, like I said, realizing they both have the same goal.
Yeah.
And it was after actually Griffin died.
Yeah, so before that, if you remember that, Edgy, he had to go to meet Shorter because he was trying to get the vial of Banana Fish back from the doctor.
Yeah.
And then he ends up getting tracked and then found out.
After that affectionate kiss from fucking Ash.
Yeah, that sensual like minute and a half fucking tongue down.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that as well. Yeah. Edgy comes to visit Ash. And Ash slips a fucking quick one on him.
Yeah, that's where the pill capsule comes in.
Yeah, it's swapping tongues, and you find out that Ash wrote a note inside of one of the pill capsules he took from the med ward.
Yeah.
And he swapped it into Edgy's mouth, and the note said, I need you to go see the underground doctor that's holding my brother right now and has the Banana Fish.
Yeah.
Like, you need to go get that shit out of here.
And I think it's, you could kind of tell Ash and Edgy's like relationship.
Yeah.
It's a little more.
You definitely see Edgy's eyes get big. Like every time something like that happens, like he's almost like, oh, word.
Yeah.
It's more than what's explained for sure.
It gets crazy codependent with it too.
Yeah, especially you're at the point where you really don't know a lot about Ash other than like basically his horrible backstory.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, how is he now? And then Edgy's just pretty much like still a kid at heart, I would say.
Yep.
So he's kind of like still learning to like be that, because he pretty much dedicated his life to like being a pole vaulter, and then that whole thing went away.
Yeah, it's almost like the reversal, Edgy's 2 years older, yet he looks up to Ash because Ash has just been forced into that, maturity of life.
Yeah, and he's like, you've basically aged more than I have in 17 years, more than I have in 19.
You've seen some shit.
Yeah.
I respect it.
So,
because I know, and then basically, pretty much, I think the episode after that, he's pretty much just like, he's kidnapped. Shorter ended up, because he met him in the restaurant because he was like undercover hiding.
Yeah, Edgy goes to the underground doctor, and they followed him.
Yeah, and Arthur ends up doing that, and their group ends up taking him again.
Yep, so Edgy goes there, and Griffin is there at the underground doctor.
Yeah, because he's like held by him.
They're all at gunpoint, and you don't see Griffin's in the room. Somebody says banana fish, and Griffin freaks the fuck out. Griffin stands up, starts walking, and he ends up getting shot. And
because remember he says like Abraham. He's about to say like Abraham, which is the which is the one of the guys in the lab coats.
Yep.
And he's working with Arthur, and he's trying to figure out the drug for the opposite side that Ash is on. They're trying to use it so they can continue with all the corruption, but also use the drug to benefit them.
And so I know I want to say it's like the next 2 episodes, because they end up going to Cape Cod, right?
It's after Ash gets out.
From bail.
Ash and Max get out of prison from a bail.
Yep.
They
lead an attack on Dino.
Because of Griffin.
At a restaurant where they actually sell kids.
So you find out that not only does Dino have male prostitutes that he essentially pimps off, he also has a underground what do they
ring.
That's what it is. He has an underground child trafficking ring in New York in a restaurant. And Ash is like, yo, he goes here. I think it's every Monday at this time. Let's fucking go there. Let's pop one in his head. Let's kill this bitch. And obviously that doesn't go to plan.
As seems most thing. It's like the whole thing with like Ash too is that he's kind of hard-headed in that way.
Well, he's straight up fuel revenge. Once he gets that in his head, there's no stopping him.
And kind of that's where like Max, eBay, and then Edgy come in. They're like, you have to think about this. This is way bigger than what you think it is, and like we have to be smart about it. Other than just go guns a blazing and you're gonna die.
So once they get bailed out, though, Max and Ash, I guess I should say, before they just go balls deep and try to fucking kill Dino, they make a pact together where they're like, okay, we're both after the same thing. We want to fucking kill this guy. We want to go to this address we know about because that's apparently where Banana Fish was made, and we want to figure out what the fuck this shit is. So they team up together, and while they're on the way to Cape Cod to kill Dino, that's where Iba and Eggy are like, okay, we got to get those two, because like Iba knows Max and Eggy's obviously like in love with fucking Ash or whatever. So they all go there. Ash tries to fucking kill Dino. Max does as well. It doesn't go to plan. So they have to scramble, and they end up running into Eggy and Iba, right?
And they save him in the car.
They save him in the car, and then they have to flee because essentially Dino just had a hit out on him, and Dino's like, yo, fuck that. Get every one of my guys onto Ash. I want him dead.
And they're basically like, if you stay here, you're guaranteed to die. Like in New York, you're guaranteed to die. So they, the 4 of them, that's how they kind of become that group, essentially, after all that happens. And they flee to Cape Cod. And that's when I feel like it kind of truly starts developing a little bit more because... I would agree, too. I would say that's really where the story, like, about Banana Fish and, like, how everyone's connected into that point. That's where it starts.
And all the backstories actually truly start coming together instead of having little hints throughout the fucking chaos because that's only what, like the 4th or 5th episode?
That is around, it's like 5th, 6th.
Yeah.
So they go. What's up?
Said it's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's about the middle of like through the 12.
And then Iba and Eggy are like, we're too deep into this shit. Like we can't not figure out what the fuck's going on.
Well, they also see what's going on, and Ash is like, part of the mafia. He's doing all this gang shit, but they also see that he's on the right side of it.
And that's kind of what I was saying. Like they're deep into it. They're like, yo, we got to finish this essentially.
Because really, I would say eBay's in there for like, because he is a photographer, and then Max is a journalist. But the whole thing about like Edgy is he's like eBay's trying to protect him, and he wants him to like leave America because they're basically seeing the violence that can happen in America, which I think is an interesting concept because, you know, it is like a Japanese show.
That's one thing I was going to talk about. I really like that. I really like that it's an anime that's based in the U.S. Like, you don't see a lot of that in general.
For sure.
Considering it's obviously made by Japanese, but there's not a lot of animes that are out there that are like actually
set in America.
Set in America, but not only that, but like set in an actual city.
Yeah,
you know, it threw me off. You know, it's just so weird. You know, you kind of see like this Lethal Weapon type fucking looking shit, and it's all like animate out. It's like
definitely one that's really weird too. Is that I know there's that one point that I think they says later on. I can't remember what episode it is, but he's like, "Yeah, Edgy, I'm sure you'd be more comfortable speaking in Japanese," and I'm like watching it subtitled.
Yeah,
and I'm like, God, that's so weird. So am I supposed to pretend that they're speaking English?
I'd love to see the dub on it.
Yeah,
try to give.
Well, that's what I looked up too. I was like, that's what I was trying to look up. I'm trying to look up the dub to see if they have that, and then I'm like, where is it? So yeah, like he's got like broken, like stuff like that. But yeah, so it goes like that. Because so to go back to it, it was like Cape Cod. They try to get the information on Abraham Dawson, and then
they find out Abraham is one of the doctors that created Banana Fish.
Yeah, with his brother, and then right, because then Abraham was in the same platoon as Griffin before he met Max, right?
Yeah. You find out Abraham was in the same platoon as Griffin.
Yeah.
And Abraham, you don't know the reasonings behind it yet, but Abraham is essentially using these guys as lab rats.
Yeah.
I just realized something we kind of completely skipped over also.
What's that?
Was them telling Ash that Griffin was dead when he got out of jail.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of when you see Ash kind of start his action kind of start to change. And you kind of saw that when he was attacking Dino in Day, you know?
Yeah, that is true. You can't really, that's hard to skip over too, now that I'm thinking about it, is because...
Well, I mean, we did say that he found out that Griffin was dead. We didn't go into like full detail about it.
Yeah, well, I guess, but I mean like first character. And so in a way, it's like, Griffin's pretty much the only one that like took care of him when he was younger, because he's got like a weird backstory with like his dad and like his mom, like that, to where they basically lived in a house together alone, if you remember like that point. And then so like that Griffin essentially raised him, and he says that like had he not been there, he doesn't think he would have survived. So that's kind of like that. That's like, you know, you see Skip die, and then you see Griffin die, so it's like back to back, like terrible things happen to him.
And I feel like those are only really two times that, you know, other than when he's with Edgy, that Ash is kind of like humanized a little bit more. Like you actually see him with emotion and like kind of like conflicted, instead of just being fucking balls to the walls. I'm going to kill him, or I'm going to do this, or you know.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I kind of just got scooted out. My audio did, so I kind of missed that.
Oh, you're okay. We were just talking about essentially Griffin taking care of Ash and the deaths of Griffin and Skip and how they affected him.
I understood.
And so I'm trying to think, because after they figure out that, they end up
they go to Cape Cod. They
go to Los Angeles, right?
Yeah. Well, they meet up with Ash's father too.
Yeah, and like find out that, and then I forgot that they have like his like Dino's men end up like raiding.
Yeah, but also one thing you can't really skip over in Cape Cod is that's where you find out that Ash was raped as a 8-year-old, and that's when he fucking first killed somebody. Yeah,
that's basically where he got like written off as like almost like a person when you think about it, because like he was in the paper, and then everyone in Cape Cod knew him as that person.
Yeah. And his that's where you find out that he had a bad relationship with his dad, because his dad essentially said like, next time that happens, essentially you just shut up and take it, so this doesn't happen again.
He was saying something weird, like insinuating if you're gonna let it happen, at least get money from it, and that was super, super weird. I mean, and then you know, as soon as the whole group walks into, essentially, I think his his dad's bar with his new wife or female companion. He's just like, oh, you fucking him too, and it's just all these innuendos and just really solidifying that he's kind of disgusted by Ash because of what happened to him,
even though it's not Ash's fault.
Yeah.
So that's where you go ahead. Sorry.
No. And then, they do the shooting range thing. Edgy and Ash talk, and Ash, tells Edgy about his, the background with getting raped and, just all that character development's going on. And then Ash goes to, I can't remember why he went back to the bar, but he did. And
he was just walking. He wasn't even there.
Yeah. And then they got raided.
Yeah, because it didn't Edgy scream and then it happened like that.
Well,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it kind of gave away Ash's position outside the bar while, Dino's men had his parents pretty much in there, interrogating him. Mm-hmm. So that's when everything kind of went all balls out, when Edgy kind of just yelled and, I can't really remember how it happened, but, it ended up...
Because it's always Ash has to put down his gun because they're like, we fucking got you. Yeah, so it gets to that point to where he's held up like that, and then
they had his dad at gunpoint and the mother-in-law, I guess, at gunpoint as well. And they're like, "Yo, if you don't give us your gun, Ash, we're gonna fucking blow their brains out." So he throws the gun down, and I forgot exactly what goes down, but they end up getting into a fight. Ash shoots the one that was holding his dad.
Yeah, well, I know Max and eBay turn on the truck they were working on, because that's essentially how they got there.
Yeah,
their truck was broken down, so they turn the lights on and then kind of distract with the bright light, and then
so Ash shot one of them, and then the other guy shot his mother-in-law.
Yeah,
lit her up.
She died, and
he's fucking why? He's why?
They did shoot Ash's dad, but he survived.
Yeah.
And that's when Ash's dad was like, "Hey, Ash, give me the gun. Your fingerprints aren't on it anymore because I'm holding it." And
we covered up for it.
The weirdest part, it's oh, you're going against a mafia boss. I respect you.
Yeah, he's like, that's fucking tight.
Yeah, it's oh, you actually.
Yeah, he gets his blessing from him.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah,
it is. Weird. That's really odd. After all the shit he was talking, and then so he's put the other gun in, I forgot her name's hands,
Jennifer?
and then put give me your gun so I'll hold it, and I'll just say they broke in and tried to rob us.
Yeah.
So your fingerprints aren't on anymore, and he's like, I respect you, pretty much, get the fuck out of here now.
Yeah.
So they had to dip after that, and that's when Edgy, Eva, Max, and Ash were like, okay, we're going to this address in Los Angeles.
Yeah, 42 Westwood, right?
Yep, 42 Westwood, Los Angeles.
Yeah, so they take their sexually charged road trip to Los Angeles. They don't show it, but I would assume that's how it gets down.
Dude, so much shit happens in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I think that's probably the craziest thing, because it's you would think it's almost too much, but it's almost the perfect amount per episode that you're all right, next.
It's more visual as well than it all is actually storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel it's taking us longer to actually
there's a lot of looking at people, reading them, and being able to tell, in no words where,
Yeah, and you're almost oh, this person's a piece of shit, and then you get a little bit of story, and you're like, oh, they're actually not.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So I have to work in 45 minutes, so I'm going to try and pick up the pace a little bit, unfortunately. Yeah. So they go to Los Angeles. They go to the address. A maid is being held at gunpoint.
Yeah,
and saying, "Oh, they ran that way." After they get to the house, and Ash is back there, runs after them, and they save the lady, essentially the maid, and she lets them in the house. And they're like, "Okay, this is fucking weird,"
Yeah, and they're trying to tell who they're after, and then they say that they're after the son of. I forget what his name is. It's one of the Dawsons. Because it's Abraham Dawson's brother, but I forget what his name is.
Yeah, I forgot his name.
Oh, it's isn't it like Alexei?
And they said he was like an adopted brother because he's
he's an adopted son. So like the kid that's there, they call him like the young master at first.
Yeah.
And then it's you find out his name's Lee.
Yeah, so they go in there. They find out a little bit more information on Banana Fish because Ash is able to access one of the computers.
Mm-hmm.
And the quote unquote adopted brother is kind of just observing everything going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you shortly find out that he's actually the youngest brother of
the Lee family.
Of the Lee family, which is the Chinese mafia.
Yeah, and they're like the kingpin of it. So he's is it like his name's like Yutlong or something like that?
And I believe that's the one Shorter's a part of.
Yeah, he's like part of that bigger family. He's like a small gang that's a part of that big family.
Oh, we forgot to mention that Shorter's been with them the entire time as well. I kept saying the 4 of them. It's actually the 5 of them.
Yeah.
So you find out that Dino has ties with the Chinese mafia and was like, yo, I know they're going to Los Angeles to this address. You have power and turf over there on the West Coast. He's like, if you could get Ash, we'll work something out.
Yeah. And
essentially running the business of Banana Fish.
Mm-hmm.
So all the Lees go after Ash. You find out the quote-unquote adopted brother and the address that they were going to is actually the youngest Lee brother. Mm-hmm. And they're all out to get Ash because of Dino.
Yeah, because like Dino, the whole thing is Dino wants Ash alive, so that's kind of why they're not like they just don't kill him.
They don't just blast
Dino
him.
wants the final blow on Ash,
which is kind of
saying you can cut off his limbs, rip his eyes out, just make sure he's breathing. So
I choke him out. Yeah.
I think the craziest thing is like how Ash just fucking gets away with all of this shit. He doesn't exactly get away with it, but the fact that Dino wants the final blow lets him actually live so much. Yeah. Way longer than he should have been alive.
I would say that's a lot of, I call that like plot armor in a lot of things. So like even like movies that we have are like that. They're like, oh, I want him alive. It's like, oh, you could just kill it. Or like, people leave others alive.
It's just build up essentially.
Yeah, and it like leads to like, well, that was your downfall type of shit. So it goes like that. And then so I know they pretty much do that. They get all the information about like how Banana Fish was created, like why it's being used, like how it can be used for like brainwashing and things like that. And so they get like more things like throughout, and then you see that Abraham's the one that tested it on Griffin and soldiers in Iraq.
And the whole plot for them behind Banana Fish, obviously we explained it's a drug, but Dino's plan with it is it's essentially LSD, but all you're envisioning is a nightmare, and you can command somebody to do something while they're on.
And so that kind of goes with this whole thing of like, so when they get taken back, so they get like captured and taken back to New York with that they show like this whole thing of how they're working with the government. Yeah. And so there's like a colonel, he's got like, what is it, like the Institute of like Mental Health under his payroll or something like that?
There's so you find out Dino is essentially trying to sell Banana Fish to the government so they could use it as a weapon of war.
Yeah, and it's like, isn't it like the trait of that was like that they find out later that he wants to control like the heroin over there too? Yeah,
he wants he essentially Dino, being the mafia boss, he wants the heroin market from the Middle East as his profit in all of America.
Basically established himself as like the major kingpin of like almost the world.
Yeah, and you could kind of see how he uses it like locally in the U.S. because he has one of the presidential electors get killed by some completely different person, so his hands are not on it. Yeah. That person was on the drugs. They don't really say what he told the woman that killed him, but what I think happened was he's like, kill this person and then afterwards kill yourself, because as soon as you see people rush in and see the body, then you see her walk out and just stab herself in the throat. Yeah. So I think that's his way of being able to work with all these corrupt parties. Yeah.
And part of that, the whole thing with it, when they get taken back, they're demonstrating the effects of Banana Fish as well. So like the one where the like official gets killed, that's later on, because I think he's like a senator.
Yeah. And
so they do that.
He was running to be the next elected president.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so they have him trapped, and they're like going to show the effects, and so they end up drugging Shorter.
Yeah, and
to kill Edgy.
Shorter is Ash's best friend who has ties with the Chinese mafia.
Yeah.
So they use that as bait to bring Ash in. They end up capturing all of them. Like Tyler said, they use Banana Fish on Shorter, and they use it as a show essentially for the government and everybody else that want ties in the Banana Fish profit. Like, hey, this is what this shit can do. We're gonna make this motherfucker kill his best friend. And Shorter gets drugged, and they throw him in against Edgy, and essentially they're telling Edgy, like, kill Shorter. It could be that simple.
Yeah, Shorter kill one of them.
Yeah, Shorter's going to kill you, Edgy, if you don't kill him.
Yeah.
And while all this is happening, Ash is chained and can't move and is literally watching all this happen in front of his face.
Yeah, then Arthur basically goes, the gun has one bullet. You get to pick one. Like Shorter is going to live in a nightmare forever. Yeah,
so Arthur hands him the gun, unchains him, and is like, the choice is yours. Which one are you going to let him die, or are you going to kill your best friend? And unfortunately, actually, I forgot. Ash is yelling Shorter's name, and Shorter kind of snaps into reality a little bit, and is essentially saying, like, just fucking end me, dude. I'm suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Shorter's going to kill Edgy because he's brainwashed, and Ash, unfortunately, has to fucking kill his best friend because Edgy was going to die if he didn't.
Yeah.
Which kind of furthers Ash's breaking down psyche. Now he's, as we talked about in the beginning, he's not one to resort to murder, and now all he can think about is killing everyone who's hurt him at this point.
And definitely with Edgy, like I said, since I'm a little farther than the other two, that it comes into play a little more as well. Yeah. And you figure out, like, kind of why it happened more.
Right.
Yeah, so then I'm trying to think, trying to, like, summarize it.
So continuing, unless you had something you wanted to pertain to that moment. No. Continuing, we kind of saw Edgy and the young Lee, the one that was a spy that kind of got them all captured in L.A. They're both being chained in Dino's room to be his new love slaves because they said they're going to turn Edgy into what Ash used to be.
Yeah,
Edgy
to, like, torment Ash, basically.
Yeah, and the Lee family gave the young master, the young Lee, over to Dino as, like, a sign of good faith. So essentially, they both got betrayed, Edgy by him and him by his family.
Yeah.
So eventually, what actually ends up happening is the young Lee can see that Edgy and Ash are, they're still on the right side of things, and you kind of sense that he's understanding that, he's being used. He knows he is, so he's kind of siding with them without siding with them.
Yeah.
So he doesn't explain anything of why he's doing anything to anybody. He just kind of does it.
Yeah, and so that does last in, like, a little later episodes too, because he'll go. One of the, like, the quotes is like, he's like, I don't know if he's a friend or an enemy, because essentially, like young Leo, he'll, like, do things to help Ash out, and he's like, why the fuck, basically.
Yeah.
Because essentially, he's the one that put them in the situation to where, he had to kill Shorter. And I'm sure that's the only way Ash sees it.
Yeah.
And so after Lee kind of realized that, Ash was still chained down in the torture basement, and Lee took out two of the guards.
Yeah.
He didn't unlock Ash's handcuffs, but he did give him the key and was like, I'll leave this to you. Do what you want, essentially.
Yeah.
And then that's when Ash manages to get out and just goes on a full-blown fucking rampage.
Yeah. And that's, of course, aided, too, with the new gang, for the Chinatown gang, which is taking, I think his name's, like, Suling, right?
Yeah, the little kid with the knife on the string.
Yeah, he's got, like, the like bowl cut, and he's got, like, kunai that, like, retracts, which is pretty tight. Shit's tight.
So they're planning an infiltration to get Shorter back. Because they don't know he's dead yet. No one knows he's dead other than the people who are in that room.
Yeah, and they team up with Ash's gang because they're like, we work for Shorter, not like the Chinese mafia.
Yeah. So
Ash's gang was always sitting on the side waiting for him because they did not want to work for Arthur.
Yeah.
Right. So they're all planning an infiltration. Excuse me, and so they're doing that at nighttime. Ash escapes, and what you notice that eBay and Max are in there too. They didn't really show it while everything was going on, but as soon as he gets the key, unlocks his cuffs, you see them there chained up against the wall. So all three of them escape. Ash takes them to an armory with a shit ton of guns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then he tells them to, just escape, and Ash is going for Edgy.
Yeah.
So they end up, it's funny, they end up going through the garage. He's like, let's destroy all these cars except save this one. And let's just say it's a Maserati, big badass fucking car.
Yeah, like sports car.
And that's his end game of, I'm going to get this and that's my escape.
Yeah.
So they split up. Ash goes looking for Edgy and just goes on a murder spree of everyone in this giant mansion.
While he's an important point while he's on that murder spree is he finds the doctor who drew. What's the doctor's name again? I'm sorry.
No, it's Abraham.
Yeah. Abraham. So he finds Abraham in the lab. Abraham's the one who drugged Shorter with the banana fish.
Yeah, because they're aren't they doing a dissection of his brain too?
Yep. And as we mentioned before, Ash, it was always noted that Ash didn't want to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He didn't even think a second about it. He unloaded literally the whole fucking clip of that AR-15 into Abraham.
That Scar H, dog.
Yeah. He's begging for his life like he deserves a chance.
And, it just shows full transition into showing how just fucking ruthless Ash is fuck everybody, fuck everything.
Yeah,
we're gonna get this shit.
You're gonna take everyone from me, and you think you get to live.
Yeah. And of course, I'm not sure if we mentioned it or not, but his brother, they actually met in LA before they ended up coming back to New York. And, Abraham's brother, I don't remember his name.
It's Alexi.
Alexi, yeah. And he ended up spilling the beans, kind of.
Yeah, that's how, I said about how they show about, how they created it with each other. And that Alexi wanted to stop the production of the drug. Abraham kept going on.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if we mentioned it earlier.
It was brief. I think that's when your mic muted.
Probably.
Yeah. So then, and then I'm trying to think, because he escapes, and then doesn't he do the whole setup with stealing Dino's money?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens afterwards, actually, because he moves. He after all that happens, Ash escapes, and he does a quick debriefing with Eva and Max and Eggy, and he smuggles essentially billions of dollars from Dino's offshore accounts.
Yeah, I think it was 90 million or something like that.
It was some ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
And Ash buys a condo right next to one of Dino. I forgot what building. It's some facility that Dino's men run.
Yeah.
And he could watch everybody going in there 24/7, essentially.
Yeah.
And while they're in the condo, that's essentially when Eggy and Ash really form more of when we got a bone type relationship.
Yeah. Well, because bro, this is the thing I never understood.
That's the best way. I'm sorry, that's the best way I could put it.
I really have to describe there is some fucking strong undertones of it and tension, because bro, they buy this apartment, right? It's a $9 million apartment, because they have Max sign for it, right? Because he buys it in cash. So they buy this $9 million apartment. These motherfuckers share a room with 2 beds.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah. And, Eggy being Japanese, he was saying to Ash, even your eyelashes are blonde.
Yeah.
And then Ash was like, downstairs is too. You want to see? And then Eggy's like, yeah. And Ash is like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah, and then they have, of course, they have their bonding moments over like natto and stuff like that, which is I think it's fermented bean.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, and then Edgy's freaking about mustard. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what's happening?
And nothing truly happens yet after that. Am I wrong?
Yeah, well, because I think the only other thing is a little bit of kind of their relationship develops with that too. Because isn't there one point where he cries on Edgy's lap?
Yeah, that's like 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Edgy brings up the point and, kind of says, hey, man, like, I don't really know who you are because when you're just with me, you're bright and, really like happy. And then when you're out there, you're just cold.
Yeah. Like you act like
not only you're cold, but you're a fucking murderer.
Yeah. And you act like you don't have, like, you can't live any other life. And Ash is kind of convinced, like, this is the only life he can live. And Edgy is kind of the like the opposite of like keeping them grounded.
And Edgy is very, he's naive in that sense because like it's pretty clear as day that Ash is in way too fucking deep.
Yeah, basically everything he loves dies.
He's in way too deep to even remotely escape that life.
Yeah.
Well, Edgy, I feel, is super open. He has full trust, even though he doesn't really understand the life. But
it's like dedication almost.
Yeah. And like you said, Ash is kind of closed off. He's stuck in his ways.
Like I said, everyone Ash loves dies. So he's like, Edgy, you might want to go.
Yeah.
And I think the last part I saw is essentially he bought Iba and Edgy the tickets back to Tokyo, but he hasn't had the fucking balls to tell. It's like one day until Edgy's supposed to leave, and he hasn't told Edgy.
So like, that kind of like that goes with that point of like it's almost like that he acts like he's gonna go with, and so like, but he's setting the whole thing up to basically protect Edgy, and then they show like the the whole conspiracy behind like the Middle East to stabilize it and stuff like that, and like how Dino wants to do that.
I forgot to mention that Ash also says to Iba, because Ash tells Iba, he's like, yeah, you guys, I got you 2 tickets to Tokyo. You're leaving this day. And Iba's like, how are you going to break the news to Edgy? Yeah. And Ash makes a point to say, oh, he'll hate me by then. Don't worry.
Yeah, and like that's kind of his plan. He's like, well, he'll hate me, but he'll be protected.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I would say that kind of like wraps up, I would say, like to where we're at, to that point, to our halfway.
It's a fucking smorgasbord of shit wrapped into 12 episodes, but
it's definitely a wild ride of 12, and then it kind of, I would say it ramps up again, and then it starts going back to like kind of normal.
Yeah, and for the Cliff Notes version, I mean, there's still just so much, packed into it all.
Yeah,
definitely recommend watching it.
Shit we didn't even talk about.
Yeah, and I would say another thing, like to go to where like to ask where you guys kind of think of it going, because like I said, I am a little farther ahead, so I can kind of like not spoil it, but I can kind of go like,
yeah,
so it's kind of just like where you guys think it's going type thing.
Doug, you want to go first, or
yeah, so I'm not exactly sure. It's been honestly kind of throwing me back and forth. It's been kind of hard to read where it's actually going, but what I think is they'll have their all-out war. I'm not sure how they're going to connect back to the Chinese, because at this point, what was the young Chinese boy's name who's running the Chinese gang now?
Oh, Su
Lin. He despises Ash because he killed Shorter. So I'm not sure if there's going to come to an understanding, or if that's just going to add on to, just the load that Ash is going to have to take on. But I don't think he's going to end up getting rid of Edgy. If he does, Edgy will come right back, because I think they're at that codependent stage where they need each other.
Hey, like you
so
said,
I'm not sure how that'll go back.
Like you said, when's that reach around coming?
When's it going to happen, bro?
Yeah. But I think Endgame, I think one of them's going to die.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you which one. I'm thinking Ash will, because I think Ash will come to, finally a place of peace, where Edgy kind of finally got him to thinking, it doesn't have to be this way, and then it's just going to black out, and it's just going to end.
Yeah.
In a beautiful tragedy.
Yeah, kind of like, I think, to me, I think that's kind of where I would guess the same way. Like, to where I think one of them's going to die like that, to like that tragic end. Because I think anime's like this, to where it's like you want to see the happy ending, but in reality the tragic ending is better.
I have a different idea of a tragic ending that's going to happen though.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, you would say it's like kind of like that, but you're definitely on point to it, though. Like eventually, like those questions get answered later on.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead, Sean.
You know, there's so much shit going on, you kind of don't know exactly what's going to happen, but that's been like the entirety of Banana Fish. But for me, the kind of you brought in Su Ling, you know, I think what's going to happen personally is he's going to have a chance to find out what actually fucking happened. And I got a gut feeling that those guys are going to end up teaming up with Ash's people. I think they're going to end up, you know, kind of going at everything together along with, you know, Max, Eggy, blah, 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 blah. Ending-wise, though, I'm not entirely sure, but I just have a gut fucking feeling that Ash is going to be fucked over in the end again. Yeah. It's been the basis of the anime. Like, I think he'll get revenge on Dino and shit like that, possibly. But even if he does, I have a feeling like Eggy is going to end up being like, yo, I'm over it, or just like I'm going back to Japan, or somebody else is going to die, like maybe Max or somebody like that. There's nothing positive about this anime. No positivity has come out of it. So you know, just the basis of it, like I can't see something positive. I can't see it being a happy ending.
Yeah, it's kind of like what it seems like. Whatever Ash gains, it's also like it's almost like that balancing act. Like, what is he gonna lose as well?
Yeah, one door opens and another closes.
Yeah.
So that's just my personal opinion. I can't gauge exactly what's going to happen from here. I think he's definitely going to get his revenge on Dino. I think that is bound to happen. But I think a lot of horrible shit is going to just continue to happen. And I have, like I said, I have a feeling that the ending is not going to be happy.
Yeah, I think really that's just, I think what's weird is that I'll be happier if it's a tragic ending than if it was like a happy ending.
I think that's the cool thing about this anime. It's, you know, we were kind of talking about, Tyler, it's not all shonen like friendship is power, friendship is life. It's more humanized, I guess, where more actual, you know, not exactly relatable, but like, you know, it's relatable, like horrible shit that's actually going on in our world today.
Yeah, and like I said, you never want like your character to die for like no good, like a cause almost. So it's like if he dies in a tragic way, that leads to like a bigger cause, or like say like Eggy lives a better life from that, because Ash is like, oh, you know, I'll never get past that life. No matter what, if I'm alive, they will always come after like you, me,
so, like,
and things like that. No one will be happy unless I'm dead. So like.
Yeah, even if Eggy does get away scratch-free and is living a great life, you know, either Ash is going to fucking die, or Eva's going to die, or somebody's going to die. People keep dying, somebody's going to die. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Or possibly Eggy just takes over the whole thing and becomes a warlord himself.
Yeah, see, I also thought that's like a possibility, too, that, like, you know, Ash dies, Eggy goes, all right, well, now we're taking down the whole fucking system, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man, you know, that type of stuff, so...
Be part of your system, bro.
Yeah, I would I'd say that probably wraps it up. I would say probably just the last thing is just our preliminary ratings for our half, like probably 1 to 10, what you guys would rate it.
I'd say a solid 8.5 for me. So like a solid 8.5, almost 9.
Yeah, I'd say about an 8.
Yeah, I would say I'm probably a little more harsh, which is because I need to see the ending before I hit that full rating.
Yeah.
So usually I fall usually like in a 7 at like the halfway point for most things. And then depending on the ending, I go down or up.
I think development, the story so far, it's been really good for the halfway point. I think, you know, I could justify an 8 just by how it's kept me encapsulated. Like I said, it's really hard for me to dedicate so much time to doing, you know, watching, and, you know, I'm always last to be finished with anything, but
yeah,
I'd say for me this is a solid 8. It's kept me wanting to watch it. You know, it has me thinking about it when I have no business thinking about any of this shit. So
yeah, well, something we wouldn't even thought of watching, and now look at our discussion.
Yeah, I'd say 8.5 personally, just because you know, from everything else I've been watching like this year, it's refreshing.
Yeah,
I think it's honestly refreshing. I like I said, I like that's based in the U.S. It's different. I like that's based in a city. I like that it's you know, more of a personal and kind of emotional journey as well. The character development has been pretty on point. It shows why everybody is the way they are. And at the halfway point, it leaves you a lot of questions unanswered still. So a whole bunch of shit is still going to go down.
Yeah, and I think like I said, if I had to guess what I would if it ends like the way that we think, I would say I'd probably give it like an 8.5.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, I like it. It's refreshing.
I just like a clean conclusion, no matter what side it lands on. As long as I'm happy with the conclusion, it would hit that point for me.
Yeah, I don't want to see no fucking
like a cop
Edgy
out.
and Ash like staring into Dino's fucking army and then just end the series.
Yeah,
like that would
like a cliff. Off. Like that's why I get to that point. It's like when it's like a cliffhanger because like animes do get canceled that way sometimes.
Yeah,
because they're like, well, read the fucking manga, nerd.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So I'm just hoping it's like a clear, concise like ending, and I fall on the like I would rather it be a tragic thing. Because, like, you get a lot of good endings from anime anyway. So I think it's nice to have something different. And I think this show it's good enough, it's different enough, that if it falls like that, I think that it stays true to it.
I agree.
Yeah. I agree, man. I think that's a good leaving off point. We're going to watch me and Doug are going to watch the next 12 episodes. Tyler's already almost done.
Yeah, I just got to watch a couple 6 more or 5 more or whatever it is.
We're going to... what's up?
I said, and we'll be back next week with all 4 seasons of Attack on Titan. See you later, guys.
Yeah. Have a good one.